Hello Flickering Myth family and welcome to our channel. My name is EJ and in this video we are going to be diving into a brand new horror film. Are you craving some real messed up horror movies? Something like inspired by classic fairy tales, a story we've heard for years and years? Yeah, you're going to like what we have in store for you with The Ugly Stepsister.
My mind.
I can't be the only one who loves when they take a classic fairy tale, a story we've seen for decades and decades, and give them a nice, interesting twist. I love the Brothers Grimm, the fairy tale stories, not that one bad movie we got in the 2000s. No, I'm not talking about that, and I'm not talking about the classic animated films we've seen adapted from those classic original stories. No, I'm talking about a movie like The Ugly Stepsister, where it is so disgusting, so gross, but it feels so true to the original stories. If you've ever read like The Little Mermaid, if you've ever read the original Cinderella, Snow White, Rapunzel, none of these stories are real as family friendly as you would see in the recent era. We have definitely watered these stories down to make them palatable. But what about this? What about a movie like The Ugly Stepsister, which twists everything, that takes this down a path you will never expect? There was things in this movie I kind of expected to happen, but I didn't expect it to be so pervy. I didn't expect it to be so horny, so gross, so weird, so volatile, but also it hit me. I felt seen in this movie. Much like I felt with The Substance, where I was like, oh, someone really understands I'm not a woman, but the horrors of body image, the horrors of society, and how it can treat people who aren't conventionally attractive or who fall out of the real thin line of here's what's beautiful and here's what's hot and here's what's ugly. Like these are hard little lines to follow, and what happens when you're just a little outside of that, and you'll see society, especially in the time period that this film depicts, will treat you horribly. I mean, we saw how horrible it was in The Substance. So yeah, I really love movies, especially these recent films, that just feel like the filmmakers are like, we see you, we hear you, we feel you, you're not the only one going through this. There's just so many moments, like specifically here when Elvira is in a class, like she's just here trying to dance, and the instructor's just like, I don't want you here, you're only here because your mother pushed you. And it's like, oh, I know those moments in life where you know you're only in the room because you were brought there by your friend or because your parents paid their way in. You don't really earn that place, and it hits you hard. And I just love that this movie really does capture those feelings, those emotions. That's what happens when you dive into classic fairy tales. There is a reason these stories have lasted as long as they have, and there's a reason that they're updated so perfectly in the newer ways that we've seen them. I don't think there is a movie quite like The Ugly Stepsister coming out recently, but I just think that this brings me back to an era of films like that just talk about real issues but puts them through the craziest filter imaginable. I think to me that is the easiest way to get a message. No one will complain about woke, no one will complain about the messaging was too hard here if you gross them out along the way. They'll forget that they're even learning life lessons if you shock them, if you awe them, if you make them just feel something. And I felt something throughout this movie. I'm going to butcher this name, but Emilie Blichfeldt, I believe that is the director of this film. My goodness, round of applause. I don't know what y'all doing over there in Norway, but I don't really watch a lot of Norwegian horror. Is this how twisted y'all get over there? Because holy smokes, this movie just, again, it's that slick directing, but also, my goodness, our lead performance from Myren as Elvira is one of my favorite horror performances of the year. She thrust herself into this. We feel every bit of her anger, her pain, her sadness. It's beautifully brought to life by this filmmaker and by this actress. It's believable. I like the Elvira character. I like that she goes through this journey. She isn't the most sympathetic at times. Sometimes I'm like, girl, why are you in this situation? You could have easily avoided this. Oh no, you're just sneaking out to watch people hook up in the barn. Girl, when I tell you that there was some sex in this movie that I was like, I am all up in that person's private. Oh, okay, yeah. There's those times where Elvira, I'm like, girl, what are you doing in this scenario? But I loved this character. I loved following her through this journey. It's sometimes hard to follow a frustrating, a different character like this character and kind of go through her journey with her and feel sympathetic and feel how she goes, because she does put herself in a lot of these situations. I'm like, girl, you really ate that thing? Oh, you're really cutting off? Sure, you know what I mean? There's just things consistently that's done that either she willingly does or is done to her that I'm like, I don't know if I can follow this character anymore. But by the end of the movie, I feel them. I'm invested. I love the other sisters as well. The Cinderella kind of stand-in for this movie. I absolutely love her character and her portrayal. Agnes is so cool. Just the sisters are great. The stepmother is another amazing character as well, who I relate to, who I understand. I think just every one of these characters is such an extreme version of what they can be. Again, very fairy tale, where we have to work in big, bold, broad strokes for characters, but I really understood them, and that's what I think a distinct kind of pleasure I had with this movie of going, oh, you were able to take me through this journey into this weird, real world, this very strange new setting, but it made me feel comfortable, made me feel understood. Like, you know what I mean? I was able to get into this movie and go, oh, that's what we're doing. Cool. I was never lost. I was never confused by character motivations or what we wanted to do and what we wanted to say. I understood the message. I understood the acting choices. I understood everything. And my goodness, I understood when we were sewing things and we were chopping stuff off. I got that, though. Like, you know what I mean? Like, in the most extreme cases that this movie can get into, you still go, yeah, that makes sense. Like, it's just so weird that this movie lives in this fantasy world, this fairy tale world, but was still able to feel so grounded and real. That is the beautiful balance that this filmmaker, Emilie, she gets to just work in this weird space of making something so high fantasy, so weird and whimsical, this period piece as well, but also make it feel contemporary and modern. There's so many examples of this movie that I was just like, wow, 1700s to nowadays, there isn't much different. We just wear different clothes and talk a bit differently. But wow, there is no real change of how messed up society is. And I just love that this movie touches on that. I just love the directing, the choices. I loved our Cinderella character, our transformation. The end, I ain't going to say much, but this, amazed, gross, shocking, twisted, and it ends with a sex joke. There was so much in this movie that I'm like, y'all did that? Wait, y'all did that? Oh, y'all did that. Wow. Coralie Farge, Emilie Blichfeldt, there are so many of these female directors, Mimi Cave's another one recently, where I'm like, girls, what are we doing with this new wave femme horror? What is going on with women? Which I know what's going on. I'm on Reddit, I'm on Twitter, I see how horrible life is getting for so many people, but I'm like, wow, we are really manifesting our trauma and our outwards expressions through these horror films so well. This wave of femme horror, I'm calling it new wave femme horror. It's just very, revenge. We have Fresh. We have this movie. We have so many of these in the last couple years that are so female-driven horror films, but female-driven. That means a woman is driving the car who's lead acting in it. It's just so different and so refreshing. We're getting stories that I don't think we normally would have been told, or journeys we would have taken characters that I don't normally think a male director could have done, or maybe a couple years ago a female director couldn't have talked about these things. But just where we are in society, where we are very open about a lot of our issues and we're able to share it with other people, it's so refreshing. And these filmmakers are able to take so much of their issues with body, with society, with how society views our bodies, with how we view our own bodies and how we treat ourselves. There's so many conversations being had in these movies that haven't been had before. I've seen so many movies about the female experience. I mean, I can talk about funnier ones like a Frankenhooker. We have movies like Midsummer that deal with grief and trauma. There's so many of these movies throughout time that have dealt with female-led stories. The Shining, I think, is a story about a woman going through some trauma with her husband and trying to keep her thing, but it's always been such through the male lens in a lot of ways. Or if it is a female-led story, it just doesn't have a personal touch to it. These stories in the last couple years, especially with The Ugly Stepsister, I just am so happy where we are with female filmmaking, especially in the horror space. We are doing things, we are talking about things, we're exploring themes and topics and ideas that are so taboo at times. We don't really talk about how women feel about their body. That's not what we're supposed to be outwardly expressing. We're supposed to keep that in. No, express it. Tell me about it, because other people relate to it. I'm not a woman, but I relate to so much stuff in The Substance, in Fresh, in these new movies, like The Ugly Stepsister, that I'm just like, wow, you all get it. This is a universal experience at times. Yes, this is very focused to the woman's story, but you can also go, holy smokes, I see so much of myself in that too, and that also builds community, that builds us together. If I can see your story and empathize and relate to it, that makes our stories a little bit more connected and able to bond a bit better. And I think maybe after seeing a movie like this, you can go to one of your female friends and go, girl, I'm sorry. Like, oh my goodness. It just, I felt that way after watching Substance last year. I was just like, my goodness, we need to treat our actresses better. Like, what are we doing here? That's how I felt with this one after that. I'm like, girl, check in on your friends and be like, hey, is everything okay? Because things can get tough out there, and things are getting tough, but I love that movies like this are being, they're like comfort. They're like safety blankets for us. All right, everyone, that is it for my review of The Ugly Stepsister. Check out this movie in theaters. You can also check it out when it hits streaming. It's going to be worth watching. All the information to find it is going to be in the little description section under this video. So check it out if you can. It is definitely worth a watch. I love twisted little nasty movies like this. This was a sick, nasty little film, and I had a great time. What did you all think of my review? What do you think of this movie? And what do you think of this new wave femme horror? Share your thoughts down in the comments below. Give us a thumbs up if you did like it. YouTube takes us way too seriously. And subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. All right, let's talk about The Ugly Stepsister right down below.